So we are back with a possibly a quickie, little extra. I wanted to talk through our cousin on Real Housewives of New York, Ebony K. Williams.
Yes.
And I want to talk to her because of the fact that she is similar to Can in that they are both attorneys. And I feel like Ebony, I believe that she did practice, so that might be a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
But a lot of what Ebony has done in the last couple of years has been more television related, and so now she's on the Real Housewives of New York, and so
Definitely entertainment focus.
yeah, and so the thing that I wanted to kind of talk through was Ebony's stance on like relationships as it comes to men who have children and what that household or marital relationship should look like. And so her belief is that it should be God first and then husband and wife and then the children. And so as she stated on several different interviews, different outlets, that her most recent relationship ended because that partner did not believe the same way. And so he left her to go and be with the kids during the pandemic and just left his soon to be wife because they were, like betrothed basically.
Oh boy.
Um, Left her by herself throughout the whole pandemic. And so because of
And
that,
what were the ages of his children?
I believe one was 13 and the others were of adult age. So like legally like 18, 21, something like that. I think it might have been 3 kids. I don't know. Don't quote me, y'all.
Okay, fill me in, because I know who Ebony K. Williams is based on her podcast with Dustin Ross, who I absolutely adore. So I'm over here trying to follow what Dustin's doing, and I ran into Ebony. And I do have Real Housewives of New York recorded. So I've been listening to their podcast and I have that recorded. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my DVR.
But so she kind of talked about it in the podcast too, right? I feel like I've heard an episode where she made mention to this overarching theme that like it should be God first, husband and wife, and then kids. And because that wasn't
okay, I haven't listened to like every single episode of her podcast, but this isn't like foreign. I've heard of this concept before. I mean,
exactly. I think it's a very Southern.
Grew up in the church allegedly, and yes, it's a very Southern sort of thing. Okay, so where did he go to live with said children?
Ebony they were in New York, and then I think the kids were in New Jersey. So like in the pandemic, you wasn't going to be traveling back and forth, and so he didn't, and he was gone like for a good minute. Like when you do watch the Housewives, she talks about like the time frame. I think it's like in the first 1 to 3 episodes, something like that. And so the thing that I really wanted to talk about was not so much
fascinated
the system, but the idea that she was just like, well, fuck them kids. Because baby, I am team Ebony. Because like I have not dated anyone in a long time that has had a child. And so while I understand that your children are a priority, if you choose to marry this person, then they are also now a priority. And I don't necessarily hold that belief as my own, that like it should be God, husband and wife, and then kids. I don't know that I believe in that so much though, but like I understood the assignment in the sense of like, I hear where she's coming from. Like I get it. Especially like when you have children that are grown and then one that is under the age of 18. Okay, I get it. But like to just up and leave your soon to be wife.
I just need some context though, because where did he go? Did he go back to his home? Did he rent a specific apartment so that he could have all of his children over at once?
He ever really says that.
Okay, because that matters to me. If he went back to his home and invited her down and was like, hey, I'm still trying to keep okay, that's the problem. Because if it was like, I'm trying to keep my bubble small, and so I'm gonna have my kids over and you're welcome to come and stay as often or frequently as you like, as long as you're not mixing and doing too much in New York. Like COVID was an unusual time for all of us, and so it continues to be an unusual time for all of us with all these variants and stuff out here. So I understand the impulse to be like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that my kids are straight, and especially because they aren't kids that they share, so they didn't necessarily, they weren't always going to be on the same page with that, as they weren't necessarily going to be on the same page as that, right? Because they weren't kids that they shared in common. So, you know, Ebony doesn't necessarily have the same feelings about it. But
Well,
the
also,
grown kids I have one feeling about, but the 13-year-old I have a different feeling about. The grown kids is like, okay, y'all are grown.
right.
Go do your thing. And whatever y'all were doing before the pandemic, y'all can continue to do that. Wherever y'all were living, y'all can continue to be there. But the 13-year-old, if it was like to be proximate to the 13-year-old's mother, and so that they could, you know, share custody or have an
I feel
arrangement.
like he went to the children's mother's house and was
Okay, so we have a problem. That's a problem.
right. I
Now,
feel like
now
that's
that we
what
have a
she
problem.
said or alluded to. Now I could be totally wrong. So like, I'm sorry if I'm botching your story, Ebony, but I love you, girl. I don't mean no harm.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he was at the mother's house and staying with the mother, then you are having a relationship with the mother. Not necessarily, but like that's where
That's what
I
it
would,
feel like.
that's where my mind would go, would be like, okay, well, then if you're there with her, then you are there with her. And you haven't invited me to come down, then y'all are having a relationship and I'm not in a relationship.
Also, might I add, Ebony is a Virgo.
Yes, I believe I knew that.
Okay. I just thought I should throw that in there. Like, yes. Yes. That's why I wanted to talk through this with you because y'all have like
Yeah, I mean,
a couple of
I
things.
have a different feeling about the adult kids versus the little one. But if he was staying with the little one's mom, then they're having a family, and I'm not of it. And
Right.
that's,
And that's, I
and
think,
so therefore, I'm going to excuse myself from the situation entirely. That's where
yeah.
I stand with it.
Yeah. I think that's what she said on one of the interviews. It was like, um, he didn't view me as family. And
Right.
so if that is what he believes, then I need to figure out what I'm gonna do because I am not your family and you showed me that.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I'm much as I hate to say it, I'm Team Ebony. Fuck them kids.
I think
Why?
I can go that far.
Because
If they were all
okay, hold
having
on.
a
My take is on the sense of there was also commentary that she stated on a couple of different outlets, like that the kids were running the household, including and that to include the child. And
yeah,
so no, children will not run my household. Like
I think it's
I
tricky
don't think
though.
like you need to put me before your children. No. But I will not have kids running the household in the sense that like what they say goes and I'm just out here to kind of fend for myself because again, I am not you don't consider me to be family. And so I would have to do the same thing that she did and remove myself and not even
I
remove
think it's
myself, but
tricky
call
though.
this a done deal.
I think it's tricky though because I'm not as black and white cut and dry as you, because I grew up in a single parent home.
Mm.
And if a man, which my mom did not have men, just to be clear, my mother did not have men in and out. There was like two men that I can remember, one I liked, one I didn't. Well, three, and then whatever. So there were just a handful, less than a handful, in fact, of men that I remember, you know, being in our home. And at the end of the day, my mother and I shared a home
Mhm.
and we were having a family. So I am of the opinion of, if there's someone coming in from the outside of the family, that they also have to adapt and fit where they fit within the family structure that already exists. Like, you don't get to come in with a kid that's, I mean, it might be different if you're dealing with a 3-year old or a 2-year old where they're going to know you their entire life. But I think that it gets tricky when you're dealing with kids who are at, what do you call that thing, at like formative ages.
Mhm.
And you can't just dismiss and be like, F them kids, when it's a 13-year-old and they're going through puberty and they're going through their own changes. Like, you can't just do that, because that leaves a different mark on a child at 13. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying I think it matters. I think it matters how I don't think it's necessarily right that the kid would be running the home, but I think that's a conversation between you, and that's a conversation and a situation that you have to discuss with the parent as to why they're raising kids that way, and decide whether that's something you can handle or not. But I don't think that it's up to the parent to decide. That's up to you to decide whether or not you can handle what's
And
going
that's what she did
in the relationship that already exists between parent and child.
Right. And I would agree with you on that, like in the sense of like totally the parent should come in, the not parent, but the other party should come in and try to adjust to what is already at play. Are we still recording?
It says it's recording on my side.
What just happened? My whole screen just switched. Okay, yeah, I've got to get a new computer. I was like, what just happened? Okay, so um I am team Ebony in the sense of like totally advocate for yourself. Do whatever you feel
Yeah,
best for you, right? Based on the circumstances that you were given.
absolutely.
I am never one to be like that my partner, if he has a child or children, needs to put me before those kids, because I'm not, I just got here. So
Yeah,
I don't believe that for myself. But in the instance that she was kind of that she kind of was put through or put in, where you are now betrothed to this person, and the world is coming to a close, so it speaks, at this time, because we didn't know what was
right.
going to happen.
Absolutely.
And my partner runs off to go be in the ex-marital home with children who are like running the situation. I feel like I might have the same resolve, and that is, well, we are no longer, because for you, I am not family, especially if there was never an invitation for me to come down and be near. Like, even if it's not a case of me being in the same house, because bitch, I'm not doing that. But like to be near so that we are together, because we are establishing a new family, so to speak. Um, it I really understand the belief of, I am not a priority, I am not your family, and therefore this is not a relationship that I should be in. I totally get that.
No, I don't disagree with you. I absolutely do not disagree with you. All I'm saying is that when you're the person who's coming in from the outside, there's a good bit of taking things as they are or excusing yourself. So you can either accept it, huh?
Say more about that.
I just think that, like I said before, the parent and the child, they have their own dynamic. And as the outsider, like, yeah, at a certain point, you can voice your opinion. At a certain point, you can say what it is and what you would tolerate and what you would not. But as the outsider and as not the parent of that child, you only get to go so far.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You don't get to discipline. You don't get to, like, I mean, you
So
can,
here's the thing: we're not
I
talking
mean,
about disciplining the children or
no, no,
having.
no. I'm just saying in general, because you said that the kids were running the house. So that to me sounds like an issue where the parents are not really putting
So
their
the
foot down
parent,
as much as they
he
should.
should have had something to say to them kids about,
Correct. That's what I'm
you
saying.
will not run this household. Like,
That's what I'm
I am
saying.
a parent, you know what I mean? So yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by like discipline of like wrangling your children. But at a certain point, and I think this is true for anything within a relationship, like you see it for what it is and you have to decide whether or not you're willing to tolerate it. Like, I mean, and that's literally anything in a relationship, but as particularly as it comes with kids, like that's that's how you get those situations where you see like on TV, it'd be like, "You're not my daddy." Like that's where you get that, because somebody that came in and did too much too soon, or did too much in a situation that, you know what I'm saying, that they didn't necessarily like. And it's like, well, that wasn't your situation. You came into that situation and maybe you shouldn't have, if you didn't like what was going on over there. If you couldn't vibe with it, then you should saw yourself out.
And that's what she did.
That's what she did, and that's what she should have done.
Mhm.
I will say that whole like going to stay with the mother of the children when you're a whole engaged man, Mm-hmm.
Now I could have that part of the story wrong, y'all. So like, feel free to let us know in the comments
Now
if you're aware. But
we
I
would be
feel like
having a
that's what she
different
said.
conversation if he have been like, yo, I don't know what's getting ready to happen. I don't know like what's getting ready to happen as far as being on the roads and traveling, because I know New York was more strict than, definitely more strict than Florida. Like literally everywhere was more strict than Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about the alarm if you can hear that. But it's like, I don't know whether or not I'm gonna be able to come back and forth. So I'm gonna like go rent an apartment, or I'm going to stay in this my partner's guest house, or I'm gonna be sleeping here at my friend's house, or I'm gonna be doing X, Y, and Z so
Yeah.
that I can make sure that I have access to my children. We would be having a different conversation. And like, hey, I will be coming back and forth, or you can come down, or we can do something to get, like, we'd be having a different conversation. But like just up and leaving with no communication, and like it sounds like to me that he has decided that this is the relationship he's having with his child, and you are no longer a part of it, and therefore
Mhm.
it is up to you to say like, this doesn't work for me, and to move on.
Right. Totally
Which
agree.
is what she did.
Which is why I keep saying like I'm Team Ebony, because like, baby, I'm not. What I'm not gonna do is to be made to look like a fool in a situation where I am, putting in my all because I am now betrothed to you and I am viewing us as a family. And then for you to show me that we're not in that way, like the disrespect.
I was gonna say, I don't even think it's like, for me, it's not even the, you're not gonna make me look like a fool. It's just like, that's just wildly disrespectful of not having a conversation with the person you're engaged to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how we're going to move forward, so that we're clear before you just skedaddle out of it. Like that's nuts.
That's
And
wildly crazy. Yeah.
that's just wildly disrespectful.
Like, because we are all of the same age group. So, like, I feel her. I don't think that
And here's the thing, like the thing that really irritates me about like sometimes the stuff that men do is like, if you would just tell the truth, sometimes you can just get to an easier, quicker resolution, and you would be surprised what people will tolerate as long as you tell the truth
yeah.
about it up front. You have to be upfront.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and yeah, some people are just gonna be like, no, but at least you've given them the option. But some stuff that you think somebody's gonna say no to, they might actually be fine with it as long as you're being transparent and upfront about it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But like, just skipping town basically and just being like, oh, I need to be with my kid. No, not okay. Not okay.
But the thing was, like she said in the different interviews that I've seen when because everybody brings this up because she talks about it on the show,
Okay.
and so she's just like, it was the kids, and then there was me, and like
Yeah.
not that's just not gonna jive.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you, unfortunately, like, it's complicated and you can't necessarily have that same, I mean, you can, but I don't know how it works out with that hierarchy of like parents, then children, when the children aren't yours.
Yeah.
When they're bringing outside kids in, it's like, it gets dicey. It gets dicey.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had to deal with, well, I did, but I didn't. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I've been on both sides, being the child and being with, having dated people who have had children. So I think it gets dicey.
Yeah. I have no opinions on that, even though I've dated men who've had children.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a part of said child's life. So
Right.
I didn't have to, figure out whatever. Uh,
Yeah.
I think the one person that I dated for a long period of time, from the time that his daughter was 1 till she was like 11, we dated on and off. I never met that child,
Yeah.
which also said to me that this is never going to be a thing because I don't
Right.
know your daughter.
And I think that's a sound assumption of like, if you haven't met the kid within 2 years, let alone 10, if you haven't had opportunity to meet the kid, I think that's a perfect reason to be like, this is not serious, and therefore.
Yeah, I mean, also I moved away, you know, like I was gone from that area, and we were not seriously dating. We would just see each other when we saw each other, but nonetheless, I had been around for so long. So it's like at this
I think
point,
there would have been a time when you would have popped up into town where it'd have been like, oh, I have my daughter, you want to come by? Or, oh, I have my daughter, like we can all meet out for whatever, if that person was intent on, being in a serious relationship with you.
Yeah, agreed. I think that with that person, I don't think that they were ever intent on being in a serious relationship with anybody.
Right. Agreed. So yeah, that's an interesting conundrum. I'm sure a lot of families with with the pandemic of like how to,
because it's like, how do I trust
finesse,
as my fiance going to be in the exmarital home that you and the other partner, who I assume they not married either, because you're going to be in a damn house. And I don't know if this part of the story is right. I think
we're making assumptions.
But like, how am I to know that you there for months on end and not fucking this person? Because you.
But again, I think that's part of the transparency, because it's like, are you going to be upfront and be like, listen, this is where I'm going. This person has guest rooms. I mean, yes, obviously there's still in the back of your head, you're just like, I mean, I would be like, what the hell is going on over there? But like,
look at my face, like.
No, but I'm saying, like, if you're having an upfront conversation of like, they're dating someone, I'm dating you, it's a guest room situation, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm there, whatever. I still wouldn't buy it. I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't buy it, but at least that's a conversation to have of like, oh, well, if you're in town, you can come over to, or you can meet them and y'all can have a conversation, whatever. Like, to make you feel comfortable with this. Not that I don't think that I could ever feel comfortable with it, but that's what I'm saying. Like, at least give that person an option. And it just sounds like he was just moving as if he was completely single and he was just going to do whatever he wanted to do. And that is the problem, more so than the moving back to New Jersey to be close to the child. The problem is that there was no communication between he and Eboni about what was going on.
I don't know that it was no communication. I think it was just no consideration.
No consideration, or maybe not communication is not the right word, but no consideration, no like, yeah, just like no conversation about like how to approach this best. Like, he made the decision and he went and did it. Mm-hmm. Like, it was not carefully considered between you and your soon to be spouse. Like, that is wild to me. That is the wild part.
As it should be, because it is wild.
That's the wild part.
Well, that has been this week's short. Let us know your thoughts and opinions about Miss Eboni K. Williams. We are, in support of her over here.
Eboni over here, because listen, if something ain't working out for you, you need to exit, and that's that on that.
Okay, bye. But yes, comment, subscribe, like, all the things, Instagram and YouTube. Instagram is going to be Black and Curious, and YouTube is the same. And then Twitter is the only one that's different, where it's going to be Black, the letter N, and Curious.
Yeah, and everything is below. So
yes,
in the description box. Toodles.
Bye.